Motherboard. Think of the motherboard as the foundation of your computer's neighborhood. It's the big board inside your PC where all the other parts hang out and talk to each other. Without it, your computer parts would just be sitting there awkwardly, like guests at a party with no host. The motherboard has all these slots and connectors, kind of like parking spaces, where the CPU, RAM, graphics card, and storage devices plug in. It also delivers power from the power supply, making sure every part gets the juice it needs to keep running. Some of its VIP features include the CPU socket, RAM slots, the chipset, expansion slots, storage connectors, ports, and the BIOS or UEFI chip. Don't worry if those sound like a lot of techie terms. We'll break each of them down in detail later in the video. The CPU. If the motherboard is the foundation of our computer neighborhood, the CPU is City Hall. It's the brain of the entire operation. Whenever you open a program, type on your keyboard, or even just move your mouse, the CPU is the one saying, okay, let's figure this out. It grabs the instructions, decides what needs to happen, does the math or logic behind it, and then tells the rest of the computer what to do. Inside the CPU, there are three big players. The ALU, that's the math whiz handling calculations and logic. The control unit, basically the director telling data where to go. And the memory unit, including cache. A super fast notepad that holds info the CPU needs right away. And here's the cool part. Modern CPUs have multiple cores. Imagine not just one brain, but several working together. So your computer can juggle tasks way faster, like playing music, running a game, and keeping many Chrome tabs open at the same time. The CPU sits right on the motherboard, working hand in hand with RAM and all your input-output stuff like the screen, keyboard, and mouse. So the CPU is the thinker, the decision maker, the boss. Without it, your computer wouldn't know how to run programs, games, or even turn on properly. RAM, or Random Access Memory. If the CPU is the brain of your computer, then RAM is kind of like the brain's short-term memory. It's where your computer keeps the stuff it's working on right this second. Imagine you're sitting at a desk trying to get work done. The desk itself is your RAM. The bigger and cleaner your desk, the more papers, notebooks, and gadgets you can spread out and use at the same time. If your desk is small, you'll constantly be stacking and unstacking papers just to make space. And that slows you down. That's exactly what happens to computers with too little RAM. They start shuffling data back and forth from slower storage, and suddenly your machine feels like it's crawling. Here's how it actually works. When you click to open a program, say a web browser, a video game, or even a Word document, your computer doesn't run it straight from the hard drive. That would be painfully slow. Instead, it loads the program into RAM, because RAM is super fast compared to long-term storage. That's why you notice that apps you've recently used reopen way quicker, because some of their data is still hanging out in RAM. But here's the catch, RAM is temporary. The second you turn off or restart your computer, poof, everything in RAM disappears. That's why saving your work to a hard drive or SSD is so important. Those are your filing cabinets or bookshelves where things are stored permanently. Modern computers come with different amounts of RAM, and here's the general idea. 4 gigabytes is like a tiny desk, fine for basics, but you'll get cramped fast. 8 gigabytes is a decent desk, good for everyday stuff. 16 gigabytes or more is a big desk, perfect for gaming, video editing, or juggling a ridiculous number of Chrome tabs. Storage drives. Basically, this is the place where your computer hoards everything. Your photos, your school projects, your games, your music. That random folder called New Folder 27. Think of storage as your computer's long-term memory. Unlike RAM, which forgets everything the second you turn the PC off, storage drives are like, don't worry, I've got this saved for later. There are two main types you'll run into. Hard disk drives, HDDs. These are the old-school ones with spinning disks inside. Imagine a tiny record player that stores your data. They're big and cheap, so you get lots of space for all your files, but here's the catch, they're slow. Think of them like going to the DMV. You'll eventually get what you came for, but you'll be waiting a lot. Solid-state drives, SSDs. These are the fast modern option. No moving parts, just instant access to your data. It's like ordering on Amazon Prime and the package shows up before you even close the tab. They cost more, but the speed boost is so worth it, especially for gaming, editing, or just not wanting your laptop to sound like it's struggling for life. And hey, don't forget about external drives. Those portable ones you plug in with USB. They're like a suitcase for your files, perfect for backups, carrying extra stuff around, or keeping your top secret meme collection safe. GPU, the graphics processing unit. If the CPU is the brain of your computer, then the GPU is basically the artist. It's the part that handles all the visuals, your games, your videos, your animations, even those high-res memes. Here's the easiest way to picture it. The CPU is like a super skilled artist who can draw something really well, but only one thing at a time. The GPU, on the other hand, is like hiring a team of thousands of interns who can each color in a tiny piece of the picture at the same time. Suddenly, that image, that video, or that 3D game scene gets finished way faster. Unlike CPUs, which have just a few really powerful cores, GPUs have tons of smaller cores that are built for doing a massive number of calculations all at once. That's why they're so good at rendering super detailed visuals and why gamers, video editors, and even AI researchers love them. Yep, GPUs aren't just for graphics anymore. They're also the secret sauce behind things like machine learning and AI. Now, not all GPUs are the same. There are two main types. Integrated GPUs. These are built right into your computer's main chip. They're fine for everyday stuff like watching videos, browsing the web, or playing lighter games. Discrete GPUs. These are the big, beefy, separate cards you plug into your PC. They're built for serious work. Think heavy gaming, 4K video editing, or running high-end creative software. Power supply unit. What happens if you try to run a computer straight off the electricity from your wall socket? You'd probably fry it. That's why we have the power supply unit, or PSU. Think of it as the heart of the computer. It takes the raw electricity from your wall, which is way too powerful and in the wrong form, and converts it into the safe, steady energy that your computer parts can actually use. See, your wall gives you high voltage AC, alternating current. But your motherboard, CPU, GPU, and the rest, they don't want that. They need low voltage DC, direct current. So the PSU is basically the translator. It takes that wild wall power and turns it into nice, clean, usable power. It doesn't just power the computer, it also protects it. A good PSU makes sure your system doesn't get wrecked by power surges, spikes, or drops. It keeps the electricity steady and smooth so your computer doesn't crash in the middle of your game or corrupt your files. The power supply might not be the most exciting part, but trust me, without a good one, none of these other expensive components will work. Cooling system. Here's the deal. When your computer is working hard, especially the CPU and GPU, it heats up a lot. And trust me, computers don't like being hot. Too much heat can slow things down, cause crashes, or in the worst case, straight up cook your parts. And nope, not in a tasty way. Don't even think about frying eggs on your PC. That's why we have the cooling system. Think of it as your computer's air conditioner. Its one job is to take away that heat and keep everything running at a safe temperature. Now, there are two main types. Air cooling. This is the classic setup. You've got a heat sink, basically a big chunk of metal, that sucks heat away from the part, and then fans blow the hot air out of the case. Simple, cheap, and it gets the job done. Most computers you've ever used? Yup, probably air-cooled. Liquid cooling. Now, this is the fancy stuff. Instead of just fans, you've got liquid, usually water, running through tubes, carrying heat away to a radiator where it gets cooled down before looping back in. It looks futuristic, it's super effective, and it's a favorite for gamers and PC enthusiasts who love to show off glowing water tubes in their setups. And yeah, I'll admit it, when I first saw liquid cooling, I thought, wait, isn't mixing water in computers like the worst idea ever? But as long as it's built right, it's actually one of the best ways to keep your PC icy cool. CMOS Battery. The CMOS battery powers a tiny memory chip called CMOS, which stores your computer's basic settings, things like the system clock, the date, and some hardware configurations. Basically, it's the reason your computer doesn't wake up every morning thinking it's January 1st, 1970. When your PC is turned off or even unplugged, this little battery keeps that memory alive. But if the battery dies, suddenly your computer forgets the time, the date, and some custom settings every time you shut it down. If you enjoyed this breakdown, you'll definitely want to check out my previous video, Every Operating System Explained in 5 Minutes.